Lecture 8 is on event services and logistics. Hopefully the chaos in my house will stay at a minimum. If my dogs start barking, just kind of ignore it and go with it. It's just one of those things with this online learning that we're just going to have to deal with. So the event timeline. Event planners are responsible for coordinating the logistics of a sporting event. One of those things that is included is the people. You want to make sure that you have the right staff and the right volunteers in order to put on the event. One of the worst things that you can have is too few employees or too few workers for the event. It's better to have a few too many than not enough. Another thing is the equipment, making sure that it's in working order. Make sure that you have the right equipment in place or on order in order for it to get there in time for the event. And then services as well. All of these need to be in the right place at the right time in order for the event to be successful. An event timeline is a list of all tasks and duties associated with an event, and it's broken down into phases, and we'll get into those in just a little bit. This provides all stakeholders with a visual tool for managing an event. An event planner should get a timeline from all vendors and all stakeholders and create a master timeline. One of the reasons events fail is insufficient time to research, plan, and coordinate, especially if there's multiple parties that need to be involved. All right, so the event phases. The first one is the research phase. Information from previous events and assist in outlining the needs and resources for the current event. You want to look quantitatively and qualitatively. So quantitative data would be like surveys. These are a good source. You can look back at the demographic profile of your participants or your attendees. Look at the things of what they found appealing, what ones they didn't really find attractive. Qualitative data could be focus groups or just simply observing participants, listening to them, taking note of what type of things they're involved in, what type of things they might be, eating or staying away from would be another thing you could look at. So the next one is the event planning phase. The research must be taken into account during this phase. Goals and objectives should be clearly identified, and you also need to determine methods on how to reach them. Starts with a meeting that involves a representative from all stakeholders, especially those that are the decision makers. You definitely want to have the people there that can make the decisions, especially if you are in a very short timetable that need to have those decisions made quickly. Also, you may want to include other people who are going to have major roles or responsibilities during the event, just so they can have a heads up of what you are planning for that event. The next one is the coordination phase. The event planner synchronizes and integrates activities, responsibilities, and organizational structures to ensure that resources are being used properly to meet the event's goals and objectives. This may include identifying prospective vendors, contracting with vendors, and developing and implementing the production schedule. The next one is the evaluation phase. This helps the event planner determine whether or not the event objectives were met. It helps provide guidance for future events. It also identifies strengths and weaknesses. You definitely want to look at what went well and what areas you either need to cut or definitely improve on. Compare event cost to benefits, and then reinforce participants and marketing strategies. This can help you determine participants for future events and also look at new markets that you may want to target. So if we were in class, this would be the first discussion question. Name 3 things that you have noticed about an event that you have attended in the past. For me, one of the things that I have noticed is whether or not the event is running on time. Was there a delay? Was there not? Another thing I notice is if there is proper medical staff there. If it's a contact sport like wrestling, do they have athletic trainers? Do they have, an ambulance staff? What do they have? And then of course I have kids, so we always have to go to the concession stands. So that's another thing that I notice, what type of things they're offering and how much they are charging. All right, so event registration. The need for event registration varies depending on the type of the event being planned. Events catering to participants will likely have a registration process. Definitely, like if you're having a tournament, that registration process is probably going to be pre-registration. If you're having just a regular game, that one's going to be set, and that's probably not going to require registration. The registration process is vital because it is likely the first interaction that a participant has with your event. So depending upon your event, you may allow registration up until the start of the event, whereas others need to be done in advance or by a deadline, especially if you need to cap a number. If you're hosting a tournament, that needs to be capped at a certain number. If you're having like a 5K, maybe you can leave that open in order to get more people to the event. So it just depends upon what type of event you're having. If done in advance or online, try to make the process very clear and as simple as possible. One of the most frustrating things for people is when they are confused or they cannot find how to complete the registration process. Ticket sales. The event manager must be concerned about tangible tickets and the distribution and human resources needed to sell them. So today's spectators have many options when it comes to tickets. We have, general admission all the way up through the luxury suites and everything in between. Some organizations are also going to a thing called the personal seat license, or the PSL. And a PSL refers to a contractual right a person acquires for a fee that allows that person to purchase tickets for a specific seat. The secondary ticket market, this would be like StubHub, definitely is a way to provide consumers with easy accessibility for tickets for numerous events. However, some people still want a tangible ticket. They don't want that e-ticket on their phone. So when people are designing those tangible tickets, they need to make sure that there are not any errors. Some tickets I've seen with misspelled words or the wrong date and time. Just be very careful to proofread those tickets before those things are printed, because errors like that may portray the event in a negative light. Food and beverage operations. Those operations are vitally important and can be a big source of revenue. Most events require some type of meal or concessions for participants and or spectators. Meals for participants. Meals are generally at another location. Some of you have gone to conference, tournaments, things like that, where they have a banquet. That is not usually hosted in the same type of venue where the sport is actually being played. Sometimes if the event is going to be for multiple days, they will offer some type of cafeteria service. You also may need to add in refreshment breaks that include drinks, fruit, and energy bars. Not necessarily for your participants, but maybe for your workers, maybe for your officials. Concession operations. The type of concessions offered will vary greatly depending upon your event. You need to consider who are your participants and spectators. For example, if you are hosting a youth event, you may be able to get away with a fairly simple concession setup. Now, if you're doing a senior golf tournament, those choices are going to be drastically different. You also need to consider the number of spectators that you're going to be having, the number of concession locations that you need, what type of training, if any, is going to be required of either your workers or your volunteers, and then also what selections should be offered and how you're going to get them there and make sure that they are stocked. Hospitality services, commonly used to develop relationships with donors or sponsors. Many sports venues sell hospitality suites as part of their luxury ticketing inventory. These will include higher-end foods and drinks. Just part of it, they're spending, hundreds to thousands of dollars. They're going to require, more than just a Snickers candy bar or a hot dog. Can be used to treat your employees who are working the event as well. If they're going to be there, through a meal time, you may have them, able to go over there and get a meal while they're there working.
Why would you want to eat this when you can choose from all of this here at Yankee Stadium? With me to talk a little bit about the food offerings this season is Senior Executive Chef Matt Gibson. Matt, thanks so much for being with us today.
Pleasure being here.
Tell me about what the new offerings are here at the stadium for the season.
Milkshakes, Fiesta de Leche, inspired by the Hispanic Heritage Month. Lobel's been here for 11 years. Let's embrace it even more. Bear Burger, vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, awesome stuff. Big Mott's, awesome mozzarella sticks. Buffalo Wild Wings, new this season. Mighty Quinn's, awesome ribs. Some Legends internal stuff, loaded top fries, pastrami fries, Reuben fries. I mean, I can keep going.
Okay, so there's a smorgasbord here. Now you understand why this jacket isn't buttoned. It buttoned when we got here, but we've tried some of this food, and so we had to unbutton the button. What does it mean to have food like this in terms of adding to the experience of the game for the fans?
Well, the biggest thing is that everything that's being tasted here right now is available to every fan that walks into the building. That's important to the Yankees, and it's important to Legends.
And there are also some beverage options, too, which we didn't mention. Can you talk about that for the adults in the room?
Absolutely. So get the kids a milkshake. Mom and dad can have a beer and a wine. So City Winery, new this year. Awesome, great wine selection that's available in our 105 stand, on tap, delicious stuff. And the Pinstripe Pilsner. Started it last year. Now it's available throughout the stadium, both in cans and draft, and it's a stadium exclusive.
And if you have any room left, we did talk about it before, but this is the Tres Leches milkshake. Can you tell me what's in this?
Well, I can tell you that this is not even a quarter of the regular size. So this is a caramel drizzle, cinnamon rice, puffed rice, a Tres Leche cake that's produced across the river for us, cinnamon dusted churro, and vanilla milkshake.
Excellent. So I think we earned a little dessert after our hard days at work.
Let's just let the belt out.
I'm going to enjoy this. Send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, so one of the other things that you need to consider as an event manager is waste management and custodial services. Waste management, when hosting an event, you must have a waste management program. Many events require host organizations to submit an environmental plan as part of their bid submission. One of the things that you need to take into consideration, especially now, is recycling. An important factor in terms of service quality, making sure the event stays clean, proper placement of trash cans, and a plan for servicing them. So how often are you going to go around making sure the trash cans are being disposed of properly, making sure that they're not overflowing. Custodial services, cleaning before and after an event. This may be outsourced or be the responsibility of staff or volunteers. Contract will specify the requirements for keeping the venue clean and who is responsible. Also, areas may include seating areas, concession areas, concourse bathrooms, and press box. So all of that needs to be determined before the event takes place. Transport services. Depending upon your event, transport services may be an aspect that is necessary. Transportation must be taken into account when budgeting for the event because it can be a major expense. Transportation modes can be the first point of contact with the event. So are you going to be responsible for transporting teams? Are you going to be responsible for transporting officials? What about management officers for the conference? Things like that. This may include travel by charter flights or buses, private car or vans. This is generally outsourced. You need to consider what modes are available, what companies can assist you, and what will help ease the stress and confusion of those attending. Aside from participants, officials, and sponsors, you may need to have transportation services in place for your spectators. So if your parking is a large distance away, you may need to put in some shuttle buses in order for those spectators to get to and from your event easier. Lighting. Lighting for sporting events is a critical component of safety and can influence your ability to generate revenue. Depending upon your type of event, there may be requirements concerning the type and amount of lighting needed. In 1988, Wrigley Field added lights to their stadium. By doing so, was able to generate additional revenue from fans who could not attend day games. Currently, softball and baseball require 20-foot candles for the outfield and 30-foot candles for the infield. You also need to consider what type of lighting needs you must have to ensure the safety of your spectators and your participants. So if you are going to be hosting events at night, you need to make sure that their walkways are lit, parking lots are lit in order to make sure everybody is safe and they can see where they're going as they exit the venue. Vendor relationships. Event managers may interact with a number of different vendors such as concession, marketing, ticket, or transportation. Outsourcing can reduce, but not completely eliminate, an organization's legal responsibility for safety and quality. Selecting good, reputable vendors is important because they can have an influence on the event's reputation. Event planners must continually work to build and maintain the relationships they have with their vendors. When vendors change frequently, one of the challenges facing the event planner is the need to constantly educate the vendor about the needs for the event. This is especially true for events that travel. It is difficult to find good vendors, so once you find a good one, you definitely want to work on that relationship and maintain it. Event facility selection. Event managers need to understand certain aspects of sport facilities during the bidding process. During the initial steps, the event manager may need to interact with the venue's facility manager regarding the necessary requirements and specifications for the event. Facility managers must consider the following. Feasibility. What is the economic and political impact for the site? Permits. Is there a lease or license required, and can those permits be obtained? Site information, environmental or historical concerns. And then regulations. What about the building codes and health ordinances? And community involvement should also be considered. Is this event going to be well accepted by the community? Events should have a facility manager on call for issues where maintenance or facility operations are required, especially in the case of an emergency, security issue, or life-threatening illness. What your event requires of a facility should all be recorded in the request for proposal, or the RFP. Restrooms. Number of restrooms available. This will vary according to local and state sanitary codes based on the attendance numbers. Plan for maintaining the cleanliness throughout the event. If your event is a family event, you will need restrooms with changing tables and or separate family restrooms. And then you need to make sure that they meet the ADA requirements. Traffic flow considerations. How will the traffic flow before and after the event? What is the best way to get people into and away from your venue? Parking attendants should wear brightly colored uniforms to stand out and wear an apron if money is going to be exchanged. Signage should be readily visible and easy to read. Local law enforcement may need to assist. They can help block off intersections or help spectators cross busy roads. Seating. Average sporting events last 1 to 3 hours. Seat comfort needs to be considered. Regardless if it's general admission all the way up to luxury, it needs to be considered. Also, when you're seating, you need to comply with ADA requirements as well. Definitely, ushers can play into it. Help spectators find their seats, answer questions, enforce seating policies, wipe down seats if they were wet or if they were covered in pollen, and then serve as friendly hosts. Sound considerations. What are sounds that may interfere with your event? Do you have the event near a railroad or an airport, where it will be loud? Or if you're near a school, what type of music can be played? What type of sound system is needed for your event? Is it a quality system? And then, is the sound system compatible with your equipment? So who is responsible for playing music or making those public address announcements during the course of your event? Does that person need training, or do they going to bring that equipment with them so they know how to use it? Hotel availability. Event tourism is one of the fastest growing sectors of the leisure travel market. Demand for rooms now surpasses that for business conventions. When hosting an event, you may need to negotiate hotel rooms or contracts. Things that should be in the contract include block an adequate number. This should be enough to cover the needs of the event, but not so large that all won't be used. Estimate how many participants will stay for the entire event. Contract should include guaranteed room rate, especially if the contract is signed in advance. Specify how reservations will be made. Will it be made by individuals or individual teams? Will there be a list provided by the event, or will they go through a different type of reservation system, such as going through a sport convention? Include cutoff dates a hotel can open up rooms to the public. Include an overbooking clause. This protects you from the hotel selling any of your block before the cutoff date. If having to use multiple hotels, make sure the cost and the distance to the event should be similar, as well as the service and amenities provided. So here would be your second discussion question. Give me an example of one of the worst customer service experiences you have ever experienced. And I guess I cannot spell experienced correctly today. But would it be something that you experienced? I would love to have heard these in class. I'm sure there was a wide range of things that we could be talking about. All right, so customer service. The quality of service provided during the event can be a competitive advantage. This can help your event stand out for a positive or a negative reason. The service experience begins the moment the participant or spectator departs their homes and lasts until they arrive back home. Participants and spectators will judge the quality of the experience based on the difference between their expectations of what will be delivered at the event and the actual service they received. Therefore, it is important to consider every area where the event process may break down and suffer a service failure and try to prevent it from occurring. You definitely want to try your best to offer high quality service, because more satisfied customers will equal more who are likely to return to the next event. All right, so here are your review questions. So true or false, all sporting events require some type of event registration. That is false. That depends upon the event. Next question, what does PSL stand for? That would be B, personal seat license. When selecting concession items, you should consider all of the following factors except for which one? What teams are playing? True or false, transportation services are required for all sporting events? That would be false. When selecting a facility for your event, you must consider what? That is all of them. True or false, the quality of service provided during the event can be a competitive advantage. And that is true. All right, so that is the end of the questions. In order to get your participation points, you need to answer both of the discussion questions as well as all of the review questions. You're going to email those to me by next week on Tuesday, which is the 31st of March, by 10:45 a.m. If you do not email me the questions or just the answers to the questions, you will not earn participation points for this lecture. If you have any questions concerning the Band Perry project or the venue project, please let me know. I am here to help. I hope all of you are staying healthy and staying safe during this time. and hopefully your family is not driving you completely crazy like mine is at times here. So I hope y'all are well, and let me know if you have any questions.